Hello, everyone. We are going to give a few minutes for everybody to start making their way over. I'm going to send out a quick little announcement. Try and get everybody in this room. I know speed networking was going. We're going to have to break up some groups. People are going to be angry, but it's all right. It's Department of Labor. Y'all are used to people being angry, right?
It's part of the territory.
I know. So sorry. Okay, we're going to get that announcement out. Perfect. So we are filling this room. And guys, I am so excited for this presentation. So one of the things that I really like to do each year with the Vet Summit, if you haven't been here before, is I like to get some sort of update on what is going on with the workforce. What are the current trends? What are the hot jobs? What are the things that we need to know, especially if you're out there navigating the career market, trying to find a new job? It helps to know what's out there. So today we have two representatives from the Department of Labor. I'm so excited to welcome Robert and Andre today. They have some great stuff to tell you. And so without any further ado, I'm going to kick it over to them. Guys?
Awesome. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. We look forward to the opportunity to present to you about some of our agency and all different programs that we have to actually help you gain employment. My name is Andre Anderson. Robert, if you can go to that first slide so they can get a gander at us. My name is Andre Anderson. I've been with DOL Vets for 2 years. I'm currently the Regional Veterans Employment Coordinator. Prior to this role, I served as the Georgia director, and I've worked in workforce since about 2000, cutting my teeth down in the good state of Florida, where I was an AJC manager and also the state veterans program coordinator there. And presenting with me today is going to be Robert Trahan. Robert.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Robert Trahan. I'm the state director for South Carolina. I've been with Vets for 6 years now. So again, we really appreciate all of you and Jordana having us and giving us this opportunity. So I'm going to turn off my camera and let Andre get started.
All right. Whenever you want.
Do you want to cover the ASVET?
Are you? I don't see that. The slide that I see is still our starting slide.
Okay. Now?
No. Jordana, do you see any other? I just want to make sure it's not my computer. So are we just on the landing page for the Veterans Employment and Training Service?
Right now I see Rodriguez, and now
there
I see
we go.
you guys. There you go.
Just popped for me.
Okay.
Perfect. So on this slide, you'll see the head of Vets. We'll see the Honorable James Rodriguez. He is a Department of Labor Secretary for Veterans Employment and Training. He was a prior Marine for 30 years, so he's really vested in what we do and trying to make it better. And also we have Margarita Devlin. She is our Deputy Assistant Secretary. Prior to coming to us, she had actually worked with veterans over at the Department of Veteran Affairs. She was there for 25 years. So they're responsible for helping prepare Americans, veteran service members, and their spouses for meaningful careers. Very vested in what we do. Margarita Devlin's son just exited the Marine, so we are doing a lot of things to help transitioning service members and smooth that process out as we get you guys back into self-sufficiency and gainful employment. Next slide. So I'm not seeing the screen, the slides change on my end, but hopefully you're seeing the Vets Who We Are. Is everyone seeing that?
Is
that okay? Good. I got
Jordana, are you seeing it?
We got thumbs up. We're good. So Vets Who We Are, basically DOL Vets is the lead agency for federal agency for veterans employment, right? So in 2020, over 2,800 DOL and DOL Vets funded employees served over 370,000 veterans and military spouses across veterans programs. Vets has a budget of more than 316 million, which is down a little bit. Where we're trying to get back to where we want to do, but we're able to do that through in service that many people through the different agencies and leveraging our partnerships. Next slide. So if you're looking at the DOL agency slide here, this is basically a conglomerate of all the DOL agencies. VETS is just one of 19 different agencies in the Department of Labor. We're often confused with the ETA, the Women's Bureau, because we're doing similar missions. But VETS is the only agency that's charged with veterans employment and training. Additionally, we also often get confused with the Department of Veteran Affairs. So we're trying to do our best to get out there and explain to people who we are and what we do, and hopefully we'll limit that confusion going forward in the future. Next slide.
We're very small.
Very, very small, but mighty. So I wanted to look at some key employment statistics here. You'll notice at the top, there's approximately 18.3 million veterans. That's significant because we've gone from 26.4 million to 18 million just between 2000 and 2018. You know, I like to use the vernacular that we're kind of a dying breed because actually enlistment into the military services has gone way down. Our numbers continue to decrease. If we're looking at the median age of veterans today, it's 64. And so by service period, post 9/11 veterans are the youngest with a median age of about 37. Vietnam veterans have a median age of 71, and our World War II veterans are the oldest with a median age of 93. So when you look at the age and the dynamics of veterans in the workforce today, that gets us down to 5.5% of the U.S. workforce, with those numbers scheduled to continue to decline just a little bit. One of the interesting statistics on here for me is the women's veterans. Women veterans continue to increase. They're at 9% of the veterans, or 1.7 million, are women. And by 2040, the number is expected to rise to about 17%. So we're still showing some increase, but our number and the age of, for a lot of employers, and they're kind of shocked when they realize that the median age of a veteran, it might not be as young as what they thought. But we're going to do our best. Next slide. So some veteran attributes in the workplace. One of the reasons that employers like to hire veterans are kind of detailed on the screen. Veterans bring a lot of different qualities to the workforce. Additionally, studies show that veterans, when they're hired as employees, they tend to show the same quality for work as the owner would, meaning they're self-sufficient, trustworthy, work towards the good of the business. And these same qualities are the reason that veterans are twice as likely to start their own businesses than non-veterans. Next slide. So this slide speaks more into the veterans being more productive and higher retention rates. Just giving you some more reasons why it's an excellent business decision to hire veterans. If you're trying to help your bottom line and affect that bottom line, hiring the right veteran for your organization could absolutely do that. Next slide. Interesting statistic here, veterans are 39% more likely to be promoted earlier than non-veterans. And I think goes to how that we are trained in the military. We're kind of, for lack of a better word, bred to do that. It's ingrained in us. Veterans like to assume high levels of trust, adapt at transferring skills across context tasks, are comfortable and adapt in discontinued environments. They're just really good for the workforce. If you get the right veteran in the right seat, you'll be amazed at what they can do to help your organization's bottom line. Next slide. This is a graphic that shows the unemployment rate, and you can see even during the Great Recession, as they called it, and COVID, veterans' unemployment was still lower than the non-veteran counterparts. September unemployment numbers, our rate was 2.7, which is up from the previous month, but it's down from the 3.7 of the prior year, which was COVID. If you look at compare that to the veteran unemployment rate was 3.4 down to 3.6. So overall, the unemployment rate is really pretty good right now. There's actually more jobs than we have people to fill the positions. So that makes it good when you're a job seeker. Next slide. Vet's national presence. We want to highlight here is our national headquarters is over in DC, and we have 6 regional offices. One of the things that sets Vets apart from the other agencies is we have boots on the ground or a presence representation in every state. Every state has a director, with some having assistant directors, which all reside in the state, with the exception of Guam and Hawaii, which is served by one director. Which, Guam and Hawaii really sounds like rough duty. I guess somebody's got to do it. Next slide. As we go through our presentation, we're going to dive a little deeper into our 4 Ps, as we like to refer them to. But Vets is charged. Our mission, we want to prepare Americans, veterans for transitioning service members and their spouses for meaningful careers. We provide them with employment resources and expertise. We protect their employment rights, and we promote their employment opportunities. Next slide. Our Vets mission, enabling all veterans, the transitioning service members, and military spouses to reach their full potential in the workplace. As I mentioned earlier, Daz Devlin, son, just exited the Marine, and he's done a great job, but he's found some difficulty in navigating our processes, which we're trying to increase and improve, not just for that reason, but for all veterans. Because if we have, one veteran that's struggling, that means that we have other ones that are struggling. And so we're very committed to getting the military to civilian employment transition right, leveraging our partnerships to maximize employment outcomes, promoting and advancing equity, inclusion, and accessibility in our underserved communities. Next slide. So if you're looking at this, our leveraging partnerships, I know this is a busy slide, but this is just to illustrate really what we mean by leveraging our partnerships. These are all partners that work with DOL Vets, and this is by no means all of them, but we do that by leveraging, creating new, and strengthening our partnerships. Anything that we can do to ease the transitioning pathway and employment pathways for veterans, our military spouses, and transitioning service members. Next slide.
Okay, I think I'm going to take it for a few minutes. Again, that first bullet, our first mission is prepare. And this kind of gives you the life cycle of the transition assistance program. And VA it's normally a week program. So VA has a day, DOD has a day, and then Vets has the 3 days in the middle, where we do employment and vocational training. We do employment workshops, help them with their resume, the dress for success, the whole thing, where we just try and get them to stop thinking military and think more civilian. And so this kind of sets us up. We have installations all over the world where people transition from. And we have coordinated or contracted with a company called Serco, and they actually provide these facilitators for these classes. And again, this kind of takes you through the last 365 days of a service member's career, and how that should go through their individual units, and then planning for their transition, checking out their VA benefits, getting with DOL for their employment fundamentals, and going through the TAP program. And then whether they want to go through employment, vocational training, education, or entrepreneurship. And Andre is going to talk a little bit more about this too, because apprenticeship is a big part of what we do. Supplemental programs. The Employment Navigator Partnership Pilot. This is something that just started about a year and a half ago. And we've got 4 locations in the Southeast region, which I'm going to highlight on the next slide. But to give you an idea, I can talk firsthand about the ones at JB Charleston here in South Carolina. We have a retired Navy E9, and we have a lady who is a military brat. And they're the two employment navigators. And what they do is they work with these transitioning service members and their spouses while they're still on active duty to help get them placed into a job when their transition is complete, when they leave the service. And what we're finding is that about 80% of the people that they're working with right now are people that are going to move out of South Carolina. So they have got their coordination down with the American Job Centers around the country and with specific employers that are looking for people, especially with their skills. And they're helping get these people placed before they even leave JB Charleston. A lot of them know exactly where they're going to be going. So that's a great advantage. It reduces the stress level on the, when you transition, it's a tough period. And this just takes a little bit of that stress away. And then you've got the teams, the Transition Employment Assistance for Military Spouses, brand new program. And again, we're trying to look at the family, the military family, and do everything we can to help the spouses as well. Also with license portability and that kind of stuff. So here's the Employment Navigator pilot. These are the locations that it was initially put out. I've highlighted the ones that are in our Atlanta region, one in South Carolina, one in Georgia, and two in North Carolina. And again, this is going to grow. And it's so far what we've seen, it's a very good program, and we encourage people to take advantage of it. Again, some more, the Wounded Warrior and Caregiver Employment Program on the previous slide. You probably saw that that's available at Camp Lejeune in our region, but it's got California, it's got some opportunities in other areas as well. The off-base transition training pilot. You can see the pilot states right there: California, Massachusetts, North Carolina, PA, and Texas. What this does, this gives you an opportunity to go through transition training without having to do it in person. You can do it online. I'm a vet that got out before there was any transition assistance program. So I was really on my own. Well, what this does is it gives people an opportunity that are no longer in the service and not retired, but it gives them an opportunity to get some help and find that employment. So it's a really good program. They do a lot online. So even though you don't live in North Carolina, you can still go on and see what they've got, and you can participate in some of these programs. So we've really tried to do everything we can to reach out to those that have served but are no longer or not retired or no longer in the service. And the off-base transition training pilot. Again, this is going back into where these operations are right now, and you'll see that in our region, at least, North Carolina is where we're represented. DoD Skill Bridge. This is a program that tries to help companies and actually our military. It's an opportunity for service members to gain valuable civilian work experience through specific industry training and apprenticeships or internships that can last up to 180 days. So basically, they're still being paid by the military, but they get the opportunity to go and work in this industry. And it's available through all the services, but you have to have the consent of the commander. And that's where we sometimes run into issues. And we can get more into that later if you care to. Wage outcomes. This is some of what we were talking about a little bit earlier. We really push apprenticeships. If you look at the wage data for apprenticeships or industry certifications, it's above a bachelor's degree in most areas. We have a very robust apprenticeship program and really, really, really great outcomes of those programs. And here we go. Here's apprenticeships. So yeah, I've got a couple more. 72K is the average starting salary. I know here in South Carolina, we have a group called Apprenticeship Carolina that will work with DOL to register apprenticeships. As you can see, the retention is great. The starting salaries are above average, and it's a great career pathway for people that may not know what they want to do, or they did something in the military that they really enjoyed, but now they need to get the civilian certifications for it. This is a good opportunity for them to do that. And again, this looks at how apprenticeships can benefit you. And one of the big things here right in the middle is it can attract veterans. They can use their GI Bill benefits toward apprenticeships. AJCs, these are the American Job Centers, or what everyone used to refer to as the employment office. We have people that are in the AJCs that are paid, that are funded by DOL vets. You see right here the local Veterans Employment Representative, or LEVER. The LEVER works with the business services staff. They work with employers to help you find qualified people. We also have people called Disabled Veterans Outreach Program Specialists, or DVOPs. The DVOPs are in the American Job Centers to work with veterans that have a disability. They have an obstacle, a barrier to employment. So the DVOP will case manage that veteran to try and overcome those barriers and help place them into employment. But the American Job Center is a great place for employers to go when they're looking for qualified people. And my last one here is going to be the National Labor Exchange. Again, you can get all this information from your contacts at the American Job Center. But National Labor Exchange basically ties all the resources that are available for job hunting and puts them there. You'll see USA Jobs, which is where you would go if you're looking for a federal job. And people need to understand that a typical civilian resume may be 1 to 2 pages. A federal job resume in USA Jobs could be 10 or 11. And if you don't give yourself the credit for everything that you've done in the service in USA Jobs, you're not going to be considered. So again, Andre and I are available, and we can give people more information on that as we go. But just wanted to share that with you. And at this point, I'm going to hand it back over to Andre.
Outstanding. Thanks, Robert. This is where we promote. This is one of our other P's, Employment Outreach Program. So our Employment Outreach Program connects employers with federal and state and local and other resources to make it easier for employers to find, hire, train, and retrain veterans. In 2019, we connected with over 2,900 employers with federal. Well, we connected 2,900 employers to make it easier for them to find and hire and train and retrain veterans. The Veteran Outreach Program addresses the skills gaps between employers who seek employees and industry recognized credentials with veterans can seek to obtain. It's a way that we do our outreach and try to get out there and connect employers with the job seekers that they're seeking to fill those vacant positions. Next slide. So on the previous slide, we're still talking promote, and we promote through the Hire Veterans Medallion Program, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in just a second here. The state workforce and agencies, great. There's over 2,400 of those agencies across the country. And so what we've done is we've compiled this employer guide to hiring veterans. It's a nice booklet that has all this information and resources available to you that you may not know about. So we put it all together in a booklet to help you decipher some of that. Next slide. The Hire Vets Medallion Program. It recognizes employers' efforts to recruit, employ, and retrain our nation's veterans. So we have companies out there that are very committed to hiring veterans. That is kind of their bread and butter. So the federal government said, "Hey, we need a program to recognize these individuals," and they came up with the Hire Vets Medallion Program. Last year, you see that we had 849 employers earn this award, which is in increasing as more awareness becomes about, is known about this program. More employers, we hope, that will continue to apply. It's beneficial for not only the employer and the veteran, and we'll talk to that here briefly. Next page. This is our Hire Veterans Medallion Landing Program. Basically, anything that you want to know about the program can be found here. It's very interactive. It's very detailed. It walks you through the application process. The application process begins January 30th, 31st, and we stop accepting applications April 30th. There's a review period that takes place um, from August through September. And then that review period, anybody that we have to get back in touch with because we need a couple of corrections or what have you, that takes place during that time frame. October, the applicants are notified if they've have won the award, and then we do the formal announcement. It usually tied in around Veterans Day. Next slide. So this is the proposition. HVMP, like I said, it's a win-win approach for both the employers and job seekers. Employers, it's the only veteran hiring award at the federal level. You get some free marketing because there's a big to do. We keep your information on our website. You get some tangibles, marketing materials that you can utilize. And for veterans, if I'm getting out, I'm looking for a company that is, a medallion winner, because it lets me know of their commitment to veterans, and they're really taking my career seriously and trying to help me advance it while I help the employer. It's a great program, win-win all around. Next slide. So the Hire Veterans Medallion Award is done by employer size. We have large, medium, and small, and that's based on employee size. If you look down there at the small print, very bottom there, there's a little small fee, because the federal government basically said, "Hey, we want to do this program, but you can't charge the federal government for it." So we had to come up with a way that we could run this program. It's a small price to pay, because it's based on the size of your organization. And again, you're getting free marketing material. It's not exactly free because you did pay for that, but a lot of marketing material that's being broadcast. It's information is shared at our TAP sites, because we're steering employees to your organization. Next slide. Military spouses. If you recall, Robert mentioned that military spouses is really big. Military spouses are strong and independent, and they find themselves in new surroundings, because the veterans are constantly on the move, or the military member is always on the move. Sometimes they're working as single parents while at the same time trying to acclimate to a new community. Military spouses seem to get left in the tracks, but they're very well educated, highly qualified with a wide variety of careers. Frequent relocation is often a barrier for them finding and maintaining employment. I know from my personal self, my lovely wife of 35 years had to move 10 times, or in a 10-year period, she had to move 5 times. But we moved a lot. So it was very hard for her to establish herself in a career. And some of the things that VETS is working on, some of these initiatives would have helped greatly. So it's good to see that VETS is continuing to progress in that manner. Next slide. Some interesting statistics you may not have known about the military spouse. 13% are in, serving the military. So we got the dual military family happening, which I know that could be absolutely rough. 92% of them are female, but we definitely have males that are military spouses as well. Military spouses are looking just to re-enter the workforce after absences related to PCS moves or overseas tours can find employment services through the American Job Center. And again, this all ties back to the American Job Center. Robert had mentioned that, where we have our DevOps and leavers that are there to assist them. There's also other staff within the one stop. There's always a place for the military spouses to receive services. They also can attend TAP. Most of them don't know that. But they can attend TAP along with their husband. And so if we have any military spouses on the call, or military members, if they're like my wife, she knows that she can speak better for me, whether it be the doctor or employment. So it's a good thing that they can show up and be there to attend. Next slide. Now, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing, because again, this is not tracking on my end. So are we on the military support for military spouses?
No.
Okay, perfect. So we've caught up, and it is tracking on my end now. That's awesome. So again, these are some of the statistics that we were talking about, and that last one down there, that bullet, that whole moving thing puts a real detriment on the military spouse. So we're doing what we can to try to address that. Next slide. And I just want to see if it caught up, but it's not.
This is license portability.
All right, awesome. So license portability, one of the major problems when we're talking military spouses, is that whole moving from state to state. And so your state licensures, these laws vary from state to state. And before you can establish yourself in a new state, you should understand the laws of the state in order to get your license there. Some of the states offer a license reciprocity, which means if you've already had a license in one of the states, then you can apply for a license in the new state without taking all the state requirements and pre-licensing courses. And so VETS is, in our infinite wisdom, what they've done is they've put all this information on one area, so you can actually click on the state. Next slide. So this is hopefully the landing page of what you'll see. You have the United States. All those links are interactive. You can click on the state. It brings up a PDF, and it shows you, gives you information and details on what you need to do, and as far as getting your license to move with you. It's a really good interactive tool that's being updated daily. We're working to turn that whole map of the U.S. green, but we have some states that play better in the sandbox than other. So it's a really good tool, and if you have an opportunity, I encourage you to visit that page. Next slide. So the military spouses, one of the other reasons that we try to connect them with the AJCs, because many of them do not know about the other programs that are out there. They're associated with VETS, but run by our sister organizations, like Dislocated Worker Program, Displaced Homemaker. We give them information on the Family and Military Family Leave Act. Just a lot of information that they may not be exposed to, have they not gone to an AJC, or may not be aware of. And so we're trying to leverage those resources to not only get them out and get them educated, and seeing how we can better assist them. Next slide.
Okay,
Robert,
all
right, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm right here with you.
Yeah, the last P that we have is protect, and this is, I'm sure you've all heard of USERRA. It's the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Act of 1994. This law basically protects reserve component members when they're deployed, either for active duty or for their weekend training or their 2-week annual training. Again, there's requirements on the service member side. They have to notify the employer within so much time, and then the employer has to bring them back on within a certain amount of time. USERRA is really not difficult to understand, but part of this footprint that we have in all of the states is both directors like myself and our assistant directors are all trained investigators. So if someone goes on to the VETS website and files a claim, it's called an E-1010, an electronic form 1010. and they explain their situation, it gets investigated in most cases by an investigator within that state. It's a formal investigation, and we have 90 days to complete it. And we want to make sure we're not acting on behalf of the service member, nor are we working on behalf of the employer. We're working on behalf of the law. And it's a very narrow lane. But we take these very seriously. They're reportable to Congress. And we do our best to make sure that the service member is taken care of if they've been wronged. And if the employer hasn't done anything wrong, then we don't want them to be accused of anything unnecessarily. So that's the main way that we go about protecting. And the last, let's see, I think we're down to, this is I tell you what, I've been with VET 6 years now, and this QR code is probably one of the best I've seen. If you click on this with your phone, it will bring you to our vets, and you can click on any of our main missions and get detailed information and hot links. It'll help you locate an AJC. You can follow vets on LinkedIn, on Twitter. It find resources for veterans and finding employment or employment services. Talks about veterans preference. There are resources for employers. There are resources for military spouses, and you can find the information on the Veterans Medallion Award program that Andre was talking about. So this is a real good, quick, comprehensive thing. I've got it saved on my phone. Never know when you're going to run into a veteran that has some questions, and this is a very handy tool to have. And with that, we are at the end of that presentation, and we are open to any questions that you may have of us.
So, Robert, there's a question actually in the thread that says, if a company partners to hire vets or spouses, does this open the company up for opportunity to earn business to support their hiring?
So first off, great question, Jesse. That's a very good question, and absolutely it does. Any veteran that falls in the category, transitioning service members, veterans, obviously, military spouses, definitely, absolutely falls into those categories, and you definitely can get support. I dropped my email address in the chat. Oh, I didn't realize you couldn't see me. Thanks, Robert. So I dropped my email in the chat. So questions like Jesse's, because we're, from what I understand, we do have a few minutes, but if we don't get to a question and you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to me. I will definitely get to those as quickly as they pop in, and we can set up a meeting, schedule a time to talk, however you choose to do it, and we will make sure that all your questions are addressed.
And we can also share this presentation with Jordana, and she can send it out, or you can get in touch with us. We'll be happy to share it.
Absolutely. We got another question in. How are all these great programs increasing the reputation of the DOL TAP program? Many feel that the 5-day TAP does not meet their needs.
Yeah, that's a great question, John. Statement. Yeah. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, and that's one reason you'll see you saw the different tracks that we have now, whether it's employment, entrepreneurial, education. It was a one-size-fits-all program, and we recognize that that's not the best solution for everyone. So we're working very hard to change that and make it more targeted for what the transitioning service member wants. Again, if they want to go into business for themselves, the entrepreneurial track will help them with that. They'll get them with the Department of Labor's business opportunity. I can't think of the name of the bureau right now, but again, if they want the educational part, they can help them go that route. If they're looking for employment, they can take the traditional track. And I think the addition of the employment navigators it's another big piece. We've really been surprised at how successful that program has been here in South Carolina. I got an email from one of the employment coordinators at JB Charleston yesterday. She has seen 200 people so far. And JB Charleston isn't that big a base, and they don't have a huge number of people transitioning. So it's a very viable program, and we're still working out kinks, but we are trying to tailor it in a way that it'll have more options for people and can serve people with different needs. I hope that answers it.
So, gentlemen, I think that is all the questions that are in chat or feed, and we're right at time, so that is perfect. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I know that you guys are really busy. DOL definitely keeps you on your toes, but I really, really appreciate you guys spending some time with us today and giving us this overview of what we're looking at.
Thanks, Jordan.
Absolutely.
Jordan, thanks for inviting us today. We greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime. So you're getting a little bit of applause there too. So guys, we've got 15 minutes till the next session. Hit the expo, go thank our sponsors in their booths, or join somebody in the lounge and have a conversation. Guys, again, thank you so much. And we're going to close out this session.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.